A great opportunity just came up. The land that you've been farming for 30 years just came up for sale. So what do you do? Well, one of the options is a little trick where you can sell other land, pay zero taxes today, and buy the land you want. It's called a 1031 exchange. I'm going to show you some options here that I use frequently with farmers. Stay tuned and watch to hear more. Welcome to Farm Lawyer. I'm Jason Wagner, and I help farmers, landowners, and rural families protect their land, secure their legacy, and plan for the future. Today we're talking about something I get a lot of calls about, the 1031 exchange. A lot of people know about this strategy, but a lot of people don't know what the details are or what the rules are about this trick that lets you sell farmland, pay no capital gains taxes today, and reinvest it in the land you want. I'm going to show you how it works, the mistakes to avoid, and some real-life examples we've used where farmers are able to double their land without paying any capital gains taxes. So let's get into it. What is a 1031 exchange? Well, the 1031 exchange is where you can exchange one piece of the property for another piece of property. Now, this rule can only be used for investment real estate. So if you're thinking of using this for your house or buying a new house that you plan to live in, forget it. We're done. It's not going to work. So investment property. Well, farmland would qualify, right? That's investment property. It's a capital asset. So let's say you bought 80 acres for $200,000, and today that land is worth $1 million. Well, normally if you sell, you would owe $240,000 in capital gains taxes, for example. But with a 1031 exchange, you could sell for that million, take the full $1 million, and reinvest it in other land tax-free, which could mean that you're getting more acreage, better soil, maybe it's closer to your home farm, all of which is going to set up a better, stronger farm for the next generation. There are 5 simple rules for a 1031 exchange. Rule number 1, what you're exchanging into has to be like-kind property. That rule is fairly broad. So can I sell my farmland and reinvest it into a mini storage unit? Yes. Can I sell my farmland and reinvest it into a duplex? Yes. Can I sell my farmland and reinvest it into a cabin that I plan to use? No, but you can exchange your farmland into other types of real estate. It doesn't have to be dirt for dirt or, rented out condo to a rented out condo. It can be an office building to farmland. It could be a farmland to office building. You just can't invest it from farmland, say, into a property you already own that you intend to improve, or a farmland into livestock or something like that. Rule number 2, you have 45 days to identify your replacement property. And this is 45 days from the date of closing. So what happens if you miss this window? Well, you missed your opportunity. 1031 exchange is done. You haven't identified, so you'll get your money back and you'll pay taxes on it. Do you have to buy all the properties that you identify within 45 days? No. Do you have to have a purchase agreement? No. Do the owners of the property you identified have to know that you identified it? No. You just have to identify that replacement property within 45 days after closing on the relinquished property. Now, many times when I'm working with farmers, they've identified the replacement property first. So they know exactly what they want to buy, and it's more about what are they going to sell, and can they get someone lined up to buy what they want to sell in order to make it work for the exchange. Rule number 3, you have to buy your replacement property within 180 days of your closing on the relinquished property. So you have about 6 months to actually roll your money into this new property. Again, clock runs out. Too bad. The exchange is blown. The IRS is going to get their money. All right. You're no longer eligible for a 1031 exchange. Rule number 4, you can't touch the money. This is very important. You can't come to me 3 days after you sold a property and say you want to 1031 it into new property. No, we need to get that exchange set up prior to the closing of the relinquished property so that the cash from the sale goes to a qualified intermediary. Qualified intermediary is a third party that's not your lawyer, that's not anybody that is subordinate to you. It's typically going to be a professional company where all they do is act as a qualified intermediary for 1031 exchanges. Their job is to hold on to the funds and give it back to you when you're ready to close on the replacement property. We have a great relationship with a qualified intermediary. We trust them. They know these rules inside and out. They don't ever let us miss a deadline. So it's very important that you choose a qualified intermediary, or you work with a law firm that has a good relationship with a qualified intermediary. So we've got absolute faith in their ability to act in that capacity. Rule number 5, and this is important, if you want to get the full tax deferral and the full benefit of a 1031 exchange, you've got to reinvest 100% of the sale price of the relinquished property into your replacement property or properties. In other words, let's take our $1 million farm example. Let's assume you have a $500,000 mortgage on it. You can't just skim off the top and say that I'm only going to exchange $500,000 and apply all of my basis to that $500,000 and pay off my mortgage. No, you've got to take the full $1 million and buy a new property. And if you need to take on debt to do that, well, then you take on the debt. If you sell that $1 million and you only reinvest $800,000 of it or $500,000 of it, everything that you didn't reinvest is taxable, even if all you did was use that remainder to pay off a mortgage. So let's look at a real life example. This can play out well into how we handle the family farm transition. So maybe we've got a client who is intending to have a farm transition to their farming heir. And they've decided that they're going to sell this land to their farming heir and roll the proceeds into new property. So we've got a retiring farmer down the road. He says, you know what? I am retiring. I don't want to own all this land, or I'm ready to sell some of it. They say, hey, would you like to buy it? Well, yeah, I'd love to buy it, but I need to pull some equity out or borrow against my other land in order to do it. Instead, what you could do is take your other land, sell that to your farming heir. They could perhaps use a FSA loan or maybe buy it on a contract for deed. And remember, you get to set the price. That can all work here in this 1031 exchange too. Then we take the proceeds from the sale to our farming heir, roll that over into buying the land from the retiring farmer. We've now grown the operation while transitioning a portion of it to our farming heir. Paid zero tax while we're doing it, allowing us to produce more crops and grow the pie so that we've got more room for our farm successor. There are some common mistakes we see in the 1031 exchange. One of them already mentioned. You can't come to me after you've sold your relinquished property and say you want to do a 1031 exchange. That means you've already touched the money, you've already blown the exchange. It's not going to happen. Another one, missing deadlines. If you don't identify replacement property within 45 days, or you don't close within 180 days, you're going to owe taxes. There is a little wrinkle there with the 180-day rule. It's actually, you have to close within 180 days or the due date of your tax return, including extensions. So if your 180 days falls after your tax return is due, well, you might want to file for an extension in order for you not to miss the deadline. Another mistake we see, you're buying the wrong property. So you're buying a property that you're actually intending to use for personal use or as a vacation home, and you didn't follow the IRS safe harbor rules. There are IRS safe harbor rules where if you're buying a vacation property, it can still qualify for the 1031 exchange, but you're going to need to follow those safe harbor rules to a T. Don't get cute with it. Just follow the rules so that you don't blow your 1031 exchange. Another mistake, as we talked about, you reinvest too little, right? You might think, well, I've got a $200,000 basis in this 80 acres. I'll just reinvest $800,000. That way I can take my $200,000 out tax-free. Nope. Again, don't get cute. That's not how it works. You don't just get to slice the basis off the top and pick and choose what you're going to apply it to. If you want to get the full tax deferral, you have to reinvest 100% of the sale proceeds. So, is a 1031 exchange the right opportunity for you? Well, it could be. If you're thinking about buying or selling land, you should always be thinking about, is there a 1031 exchange opportunity here? Is there an opportunity for me to sell land that I don't intend to keep longer term or that may be marginal and reinvest those proceeds tax-free? At my law firm, Wagner, we work with farmers all the time doing 1031 exchanges. We help them protect the money that they've invested and help them plan smarter. If you found this helpful, follow me, the farm lawyer, hit the like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below.